how does those new products or would stand in light of GAR and in light of BEPS? I think one point I made is about, the two-tier Mauritian structure, where essentially if an investor was disposing of investment in a Mauritian company, that would still be subject to tax in Mauritius. India has enacted indirect tax laws as far back as 2012. And in those indirect tax laws, what it has there is that to the extent that an investor sells shares which directly or indirectly has its value out of India, then those will be taxable in India. So I think there are already provisions in India where essentially they can tax those types of transactions, whether it's be hybrid instruments, whether it be indirect sale of shares. So India has all these provisions available into their domestic tax law to tax those transactions. My view is that why would they agree a tax treaty with Mauritius and has those terms in it if at the end of the day they would want to override everything? Because I was in a conference and everyone was saying, yes, if you do this, GAR would override it. Yes, if you do that, GAR would override it. Then what's the purpose of two sovereign states coming into an agreement dealing with specific items and then for saying GAR would override it? So it's no point of agreeing a treaty in the first place then. But I think, having said that, if we have substance in place and if there is a rationale in terms of, what we're seeing in terms of the Africa, where you're setting up procurement functions, you're setting up administrative functions, you're setting up treasury functions, and there's a real value which is being created out of Mauritius, then I think irrespective of GAR, irrespective of BEPS, there is a commercial purpose that's being fulfilled here, and I think you'll be protected then. Firms like ourselves and the commitment that we have to the Mauritian jurisdiction, I think I can only speak for PwC because that's the firm I work for. And at PwC, what we've done is once those new protocol was in place, we've been liaising with our network of offices in New York, in Singapore, and in India. The first thing was we tried to get the sentiment and to try and understand what the investor concerns was. And arising from that, we've been tackling and leading a communication strategy with our network clients to effectively try and come out with solutions in terms of tackling the issues. I think from their perspective, irrespective of whether it is debt instruments, whether it is equity instruments, they are in for the returns. So as long as we come up with new products or Mauritius suit that needs, then from their perspective, they would continue to use our Mauritian platform. I think we've been liaising with them, we've been liaising with them to talk to our network clients, and so far, the vibe has been positive. The way hedge funds are structured is effectively they're trying to take care of daily trading movements, and to the extent there is no more that benefit, then yes, Mauritius may not provide that tax benefit, but I think Mauritius may provide much more than that, and to the extent that we're providing them with a service, because at the end of the day, what a hedge fund needs is being serviced. So in terms of administration, in terms of infrastructure, and if we can continue to meet these criteria, then they might continue to use Mauritius as a trading platform. But I think another point which I know the ministers were considering is about tax-exempt funds as well, which is something which they were in discussion, and maybe that's something that post that 2017, 2019 could be something that they would look at. But I mean, yes, I think the hedge fund industry would be impacted by this new protocol.
I wanted to know about the tax resident certificate. I heard you say that substance is required. We all know substance is required. And you said 2 sovereign states that can't be overridden by GA, etc. But the tax resident certificate, will it continue to be not a sign, but a guarantee given by the Mauritius tax authorities to the Indian tax authorities that there is substance? Or is the tax resident certificate now more or less a dead duck?
I think there was Circular 789 in India, which effectively gave status to the tax residency certificate. So to the extent that Mauritius authorities issued a tax residence certificate, it was certainty that they would benefit from the treaty. But now with this new protocol, everything now it's been kind of back to square one. So the tax residency certificate gives comfort to investors that yes, from a Mauritian perspective, it's tax resident. But now, you know, whether it's reciprocated on the other side, that's the question, because the previous circulars no longer has legal standing because it's all been overridden. Well, what the protocol says is that it would grandfather all existing investment up to 1st of April 2017, as long as there's investment out of Mauritius. So I think being incorporated out of Mauritius is an indication that, you know, those investments are held for Mauritius. But although there is nothing clear that's been said, I think it would be advisable that they maintain their tax residency certificate. Yes.